Hello everyone, my name is Stephen Bell, aka Sakui, and welcome back to a post-launch Q&A for our History Untold. My friends, we still have a ton of content headed your way, so be sure to go ahead and subscribe and ring the notification bell to stay updated with the latest Encarta episodes, dev diaries, and post-launch offerings. In today's video, we've gathered more questions from you, our wonderful community, so please, by all means, keep those coming. I am begging you, keep doing so. And joining us, once again, is Xbox Game Studio executive producer, Matt Turnbull. Now Matt, welcome back to the show. Have you even had a moment to try and rest and breathe since everything has happened? Because it's been a bit frantic.
Honestly, even if I was, I'd just be playing the game anyway. So it's...
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah,
we're having a great time. It's been a lot of fun seeing people's reactions to the game and getting a chance to engage with the community after launch. It's obviously a really busy time for the game. We've been releasing multiple patches, kind of targeting some of the biggest pieces of feedback and initial reactions folks have had to the game. And we're continuing to do so and continuing to kind of invest in making sure we're listening to the community and getting excited and sharing with them some of the new things that are coming up, including some of our own big plans coming up for early November, which we recently announced.
Ooh, exciting then. Okay, so got some stuff coming then.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot that the team's been doing to try to help address some of the specific quality of life concerns and thoughts that people have had around the game, some of the questions that they've had around certain systems. But beyond that, there's also some of our, delightful feature things that we really wanted to get in for launch that just weren't able to make it on time that we're now able to get in our first 1.1 patch update, like our Real Earth Start map and the national economy screen and a few other fun things like that.
Roger that. Well, we got a lot of questions to go through, so let's go ahead and dive into these then.
Sure thing.
Okay then, let's see. First we have a question from Seasand6705 on YouTube, who asked, with modding, will there be features to support building scenarios with specific starting locations and conditions, adding custom goals, such as true start location Earth? Thanks.
No, it's a great question. So modding, we know, is sort of a cornerstone of PC gaming and is something that we've always wanted to support. The game's been built with modding from the outset, right? With an understanding that modding and the moddability of the game is going to be critical. We have a multi-phase modding plan for continued modding support. Our very first step is going to be just trying to help the community with version 1.1 have better access to the areas of the game where you can make modifications to it and adjust certain things. And then more and more tooling and more ability to distribute mods, etc., coming online as time goes on. The biggest thing I would say is if you have specific features you're excited about, things that you want, like, for example, custom map generation or scenario creation, keep that feedback coming to us. Keep it coming in the Discord, keep it coming in our forums, keep letting us know what it is you want to see, because that will help us target the right type of tooling and the right type of work. Because frankly, with modding, as you probably know, the sky's the limit, right? You can do anything. Now,
that's the whole point of it, exactly. You can do anything.
Exactly. You could do anything. And so we want to make it as easy as possible for people to do anything and everything. And that's the goal. But our very first steps into that world, into beyond what people have already done, since launch, which we've seen several things out there already. But beyond that, our very first steps are coming in this early November update, and then we're going to continue on from there. So just keep the feedback coming and keep letting us know what you want. The good news I will say, though, is that we also really wanted a custom Earth start, and so we're releasing our own custom Earth start map. Now, we're sure that the community will make their own versions of it and mod their own amazing versions of this downstream, but for right now, we wanted to make sure that people had the ability to play on Earth as their favorite nation in their real world start location, and so that's coming out with this first 1.1 update.
That's awesome. Yeah, in any kind of strategy game, my personal favorite is True Start Earth and also Archipelago. Those are like the two things that I always end up gravitating towards anytime I do these setups. I get that. That's awesome. All right, next question here comes from Hater CZ on Steam, who asked, can you build more than 10 cities? The city limit feels really extremely restrictive.
No, I can definitely understand that point of view or that perspective. We definitely built the game with the idea of a city cap in mind to try to represent the balance of the game and the type of experience we thought was going to be the most fun for players. But we've heard the feedback before. There's definitely people who want to build those really sprawling, vast empires with lots of cities. We're going to be doing our best in the short term to try to expose that information to modders for modability so people can mod it to be able to increase the city cap beyond that. There's also a number of in-game features for things, both in the game now and coming in the future for things like government types, improvements, individual leader traits and leader abilities for new leaders that will allow players to build more cities and expand that city cap beyond what it is in the game as it stands today. But it is something that we've definitely heard as a piece of feedback, and we want to look at how to address. And so the best thing to do is keep that feedback coming with us, join the Insider program, post on the forums, post in the Discord. The team is really engaged in those places, listening to everything and trying to make sure that we're listening to what people really want to see in the game and what they're enjoying, and doubling down on that as we continue to update it in the future.
I get it. If people want to make changes, they're going to need to provide feedback to let them know. I get that.
That's the best way. Because we are listening, and we're excited for continuing to support the game and continuing to improve it and add to it and kind of do all these cool things with it that we've been dreaming about doing. But we need to know what people really want to see.
All right, let's see here. Next up, we have a question from Helios on Steam, who said, please tell me how quests work and what trigger causes them. For example, there's a quest that opens Republic in the early game, and I would like to know if this happens by accident or if it is possible to somehow strive for certain quests and fulfill the conditions for obtaining them.
No, it's a great question. So honestly, the narrative event system is something that had a lot of thought put into it. It is designed to be both reactive to the decisions that you're making as a leader, as well as to the decisions other leaders on the map are making, as well as the circumstances you find yourselves in. So for example, certain tribal events will only happen if you meet certain tribes in certain areas or with certain land features around them. The specific event that you're talking about, the narrative event that can unlock, is a pretty powerful event. Obviously, it has some pretty significant costs associated with it, but if you pull it off, it can give you a pretty good leg up. It has to do with meeting specific either other nations' leaders in the AI list or specific leader types. A lot of this information is actually built into some of the game's data files and can be modified downstream as well. But beyond that, we can try to publish some more of that information soon and see what else we can share about a little bit about that system and the underpinnings. But what I will say is that specific event and events like it are often a reaction to who you've met and their real life AI, their real life historical events. So for example, if there was a famous leader who was famous for doing X, Y, or Z thing, they may have an event that's built around that leader being in the game and that leader bringing that forth or bringing forth something that gives you that opportunity. And so there's a million little variables that can all go in, and they all kind of adjust which events will show up in any given game of the more than 700 events that were in the game at launch, and more that we intend to continue to add to the game as we continue to support it.
I love that. That's fascinating. It's environmental interaction and reaction. It makes sense. A civilization will grow depending upon what specific things it experiences. That is fascinating.
Yeah, it'd be weird to give somebody a fishing event, for example, if they didn't have any coastal cities, if they're fully landlocked, or
what would be the trigger?
Exactly.
That would make sense.
If Julius Caesar's dealing with a bunch of people inside of his own society that are rebelling against him, it'd be weird if Caesar wasn't in the game and you were still trying to help out Caesar. It's all of those little pieces, but then the big pieces, right? History is a story of these individual events and these individual things as much as it is these massive structures and these massive things that change over time.
True. Okay, then. Our next question comes from R. Leon, which I guess Aurelian, like R. Leon, on Steam, who wrote, is there any way to play a more naval map with many islands and not just one big continent? See, that's what I like. Firstly, I love archipelagos. I really do.
No, fair. Yeah. Honestly, there are some options in there that may have gotten missed because often what we've noticed is folks don't click the little advanced map generation options. So when you go into the start game, you go in, you have these advanced map generation options. And as you adjust those, they can have really subtle and dynamic effects on the map. And so it's not just about picking a map type like archipelago versus 4 continents versus 2 continents. It's also about things like temperature, humidity, age of the planet. All of those things will affect everything from sea levels to number of mountains to the amount of rivers that show up to the erosion plane to the wind direction. All of this stuff that you can adjust will affect those other elements that are working under the scenes to do the dynamic generation of the procedural world, to create that procedural map. And so the best advice I can give is, one, mess around with all of those little advanced generation options and try out different things to see the different kinds of maps you like. And then 2, remember that maps in the game are deterministic. If you find a map you love, know the options, know the seed, share that online with people. Or better yet, jump on the Discord right now and ask, hey, does anybody have any great archipelago map seeds that they want to share? And I'm sure you'll get inundated with great suggestions and ideas for once, because the maps are deterministic. Once you have that seed and that set of settings, you can make the same map over and over and over again forever. And so we really want to make it so that people find the kinds of maps that they love with the very, very dynamic system that's in place, that they can share those with each other and that they will get a consistent result.
That is a good point to note. That is a really good point to note. Okay, well, moving on then, we have a question from Redwood Herring, who asked, why does the starting city not allow for a gathering hall? I can only build one in newly founded cities. Seems like an oversight, as town halls are super useful in later acts.
No, it's a good piece of feedback. We struggled with this one a lot during development, to be completely honest. There was a lot of discussion about the town halls. There was an earlier version of the beta where there was multiple starting buildings, and you had to decide whether or not to support like a big bonfire or a religious structure. And at the end, we decided that we really wanted to represent that capital as a unique thing, as its own special place with its own special start. It's the very beginning of your society. You have that great hearth. It has that history that goes all the way to the pre-agrarian era. And because of that, it never required that gathering hall. It never required that extra meeting space because the center of that society already existed. And so it was kind of a deference to both the systems involved in the game to try to allow for the gameplay to work the way that we wanted, with making sure that we had unique things about the capital that could help separate it from the other cities that you had found, but also to provide that flavor, that difference, that a real capital, that a real source of a people, the very heart of them. It's Rome in the center of the Roman Empire, right? It's the very beginnings of these amazing places. What I will say, though, is that it's something we've heard as feedback as well. And in the future, something we're going to look at options for and seeing what we can do there. No guarantees that we make any adjustments there, but we're also going to try to make sure that it's something that's available for modability for folks. And so are doing our best to balance out those needs with some of the kind of key vision things for the game that are about how we deliver the experience that we've seen that we do know people really do love as well.
Well, then let's see here. Next up, we had a question from Rusty Booper on Steam, who asked, is there a way to upgrade military, or is it just disbanding and creating new modern units? I feel an upgrade system is needed, if not.
We felt the same way, to be totally honest. And so we unfortunately had some problems with some of the planned upgrade work that we were hoping to get in for launch, and that wasn't able to make it for launch. But I'm excited to announce, or to at least re-announce, that for version 1.1, we're going to be including the ability to upgrade units, including upgrading units in the world, as well as the ability to disband units with a new reform ability. And that reform ability will allow you to disband armies that you've put into the world and you've deployed and bring them back into your reserves so that you can then work on those units and do things with them. And so we're working on continuing to update that system and adjust it as we go forward. But with the 1.1 update, you'll have that new ability to upgrade units, as well as that ability to reform, which we're really excited about. We know that's been one of the most number one requested features. And so we really, really wanted to dive in and get on that as quick as we could after launch. And so it's coming with the first major update.
All right, let's see here then. Next up, we have a religion question from Rapsinev on our Insider forums, who wrote, would you mind doing a video on how religion functions in the game? It has been mentioned, and given that several rulers' traits affect its spread, I presume it plays a major role, but unless I've missed it, none of your videos really talk about what its effects are, like what beliefs you can choose, the effects, and so on. Are there also narrative events in the games that relate to your religion?
Wow. The answer is yes, and yes. Honestly, we know that religion right now moves in mysterious ways in the game and is a little bit too vague, or not vague, but at least it's not as well explained within the game as we'd like it to be. There are a lot of great interlocking systems there that have to do with immigration, emigration, relationships between nations, relationships between their borders, all of which affect religious spread and the way that religion spread between nations, as well as trade agreements and things like that. But beyond all of that, there's also the verse system, the idea that as you build your religion out over time, you implement these verses, which are these individual powers. At the end of the day, the religious system is a source of great prestige for your nation, and the greater your spread and the more people you've converted, the more cities you've converted, the more prestige you're generating on a regular basis. And then beyond that, these verses can be extremely powerful, especially when well targeted. But what we do know is that we have never published, for example, a list of all of the potential verses that could pop up. There are events that are in fact affected or impacted by your religion or other religions, whether or not other nations have formed religions, whether or not you've formed a religion, whether or not you've converted one of their cities. These are all things that can and do in fact trigger those narrative global events, those historical events that can occur in the game. So yes, and yes. But it sounds like the main thing that I'm hearing is that we really should get a video out on religion soon. And so that's something we will do our best to listen to and get into the pipeline so we can get a little bit more deep on that feature, because we know that there's a lot of components to that feature. There's a ton of elements that are interlocking in there, and we don't really ever write down in the game exactly what each of them is doing and how they're interacting with each other. Because, religion's a great mystery, right? but it shouldn't be as a gameplay mechanic. We should probably make it a little bit more clear.
It's going to be one of those things, like it's the whole question about the Republic one we addressed at the very beginning that was talking about, what kind of environmental effects are going to have on it. There's going to be those kinds of things that trigger things with religion too. And I guess it's good that whole thing can be expanded upon, because that is a crucial part of civilizations and history.
Yeah, it's one of the interesting things about Ara as a game, honestly, is that there was such a focus from the team at Oxide and from the talented group there about building something that was a simulation of the world, a simulation of life, in terms of the procedural map generation, in terms of the way that the religious spread works, in terms of how cities grow and fall and interact with each other. There's a desire to make an amazing strategy game there and to have a lot of fun with interesting strategy and interesting decisions to make all throughout, but also to make the game more of a reflection of a living world, to feel more like an authentic place, to feel more organic to those types of things. But along with that came, I think, some surprising amount of areas where it's like, wow, well, we really have to explain a lot to try to get into the depth and detail of how this sim works. And we know for sure, based off feedback and based off of where the game is today, that there's more work to do there, and there's more opportunities for us to expose to players some of the underpinnings behind some of those decisions and those systems. And religion is definitely one of them. The event system is probably another good example of one where a huge amount of work and effort went in to try to simulate something that felt authentic and honest and as a reflection of history in a real way, but still strategically engaging, but done so in a way that ended up making it a little bit more opaque than I think we'd originally intended.
Let's see then. Next, we had a comment from Lucius HLBRK in our Insider Forum, who wrote, "What I would really like to see is a way to somehow send food from fertile cities to cities that may not have access to food. I really like the idea of having a few breadbasket cities that feed the whole empire. This can be accomplished to some degree through amenities, but if I have a national food storage, why can't I utilize that in some way? What does that number even mean?"
No, it's a great question. So the point of the national food storage is it changes it so that your cities don't starve, they stagnate. And the difference between starvation and stagnation is pretty important, which is to say you can utilize the national food storage to distribute to other cities to avoid them falling into starvation and actually shrinking in size or shrinking in population, but they will stagnate unless they're locally producing enough food in order to be able to support growth. The basic premise behind the game, or the intent, was always to utilize the crafting system and to utilize food as a source of something that you use to implement into the crafting system. You implement it into the economy to build things like bread, to build things like beasts. And then those are the drivers of food growth and catalysts of additional food growth at a local level for individual cities. There is obviously some interesting balance ramifications that come with this. It's a complicated system, a complicated interaction of how these things work out. The thing that I will say is that in the latest patch in 1.1, there are some new amenities being added intentionally to try to help address this specifically, to create some new areas where you can spend food and spend other food-like resources in order to allow for local growth in that way. Some new options for the bakery. I don't want to spoil any specifics, but there's more stuff coming on that front, and there's going to be continued investment in expanding the economy and creating that. But the goal was to utilize the systems that we have in place to allow for taking things like food, wood, materials, all of those essential resources, to create kind of a virtuous cycle of an economy where you're building up these stockpiles of it, but then you're utilizing those stockpiles to craft these amenities that you're then distributing across your nation, as opposed to just kind of moving a raw number around, which the team decided just wasn't going to be as engaging for the type of experience we were trying to hope Ara would be.
Yep, no, that would make sense. That would absolutely make sense here. Well, finally, on that note, we have a comment from U Chalagor on Reddit, who said, "Okay, this is insanely addicting. If you enjoy city empire building and management, this game will eat you alive. It's been 36 hours without sleeping and I can't stop."
I'm sorry. Thank you? I don't know what the right answer is. I appreciate it. We're glad.
If you are married, have a family, or people that care about you, we firmly apologize for this.
Yeah.
If not, tough luck. Enjoy yourself.
Yeah, I'm just glad you're having fun. And honestly, we've been hearing this a lot, and it's been really great to see. I don't know if folks know that this team has been working on this game for a very long time. It's been a huge labor of love for so many people, and they care so much about it, and they've wanted to make something that would make people who love these kinds of games fall in love with it and want to keep playing and want to not put it down. And we've had that experience ourselves playing the game, and that's been that was the best sign that we knew we were ready to launch something, ready to put something out there. There's always more work to do and always more ways to improve it, and we're going to continue to support it and continue to improve it. But we're really excited to see the positive reaction from people and the feedback and the way that people are enjoying it, and some of the links of games that we're seeing and some of the other information that's coming through about people's experiences and the amazing war stories they're telling online about their gameplay. It's been just hugely gratifying and so exciting. So thank you for playing, and please keep playing, but do get some rest and remember to do self-care and drink some water. Your mother's been telling me it's important. You need to make sure you're staying hydrated.
Yeah, well, on that note then, I think that's going to be the end of things here then today. So thank you so much for joining us, Matt. Also, you were tired as well. I know you were tired. You've been doing a lot here, so make sure that you take care of yourself on that note. But before it is that you leave, is there anything else that you'd like to say to the fans?
Honestly, I just want to say thanks again. We really wouldn't be doing this without your support. And you're not wrong, Stephen. I am tired. There are definitely people on the team who are tired, who have been working hard to try to listen to feedback, to respond to players, to be in there. I think we've released a number of patches, at least 4 more coming. And so it's been a long road to launch, and it's been a busy month post-launch now that we're here, but we couldn't be more excited about the future, and we continue to keep going because of the amount of energy we're getting from players and the excitement that they're bringing to the game. And so thank you all for playing. That's all I can say is thank you. We couldn't be here without you, and we're so excited to still have the chance to be here and building something that people are enjoying and falling in love with and having fun with.
It's wonderful. And on that note, for those of you who are watching here right now, thank you to all of you who have joined us here today. Keep on giving your feedback. Keep on giving everything. Subscribe for future content that is coming to this channel here for more Dev Diaries, more everything. Follow us along on the social platforms of your choice, and go explore our History Untold on Steam, Windows, or PC Game Pass, where it is that you actually go and play your games. Thank you all once again, and we will see you here next time.